What is up, guys? Dr. Sophia here, and I am back with another video. If you are new, then don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can stay updated on all of my content. And also don't forget to like this video, and don't forget to check the description box because I always put a lot of stuff in there, including my book, specifically for single moms, Fix It Jesus for single moms only, which you may want to get because what we are talking about is a single mom topic, and that is how to be a single mom in luxury all by yourself. And no, this is not one of these videos where I'm gonna tell you to go trick yourself out or do something crazy in order to get money. It's not like that. What it is about being a single mom in luxury all on your own. We're going to talk about how to do it, and we're going to talk about how to get there. What I do not like as a single mother myself, who does not like to struggle, is that some single moms tend to have the perception that just because you are a single mom, then you need to be on the struggle bus, or you either need to align yourself with a man who has money and sell your body to him in order for you to have money, basically modern prostitution. And I'm not going to suggest that you do any of these things. I am one of these women who do believe that a woman can have for her own. I also believe that you can be in a great relationship and a man can spoil you and all that wonderful good stuff. But until that happens, and if you do not have that yet, then you need to be spoiling yourself. So let's talk about how to do that. So the first is to get more money to be in luxury. Now, although this seems like common sense, there is a way to do this. I'm actually going to link my video down below where I talk about how single moms can get more money now as well as in the future, because in that video, I go a lot more detail about how to get more money. But what I talked about in that video is some of the same things that I'm going to talk about now. Is of course you can hustle for now. And in that video, I talked about certain things that you could do as far as getting more money now, such as taking a little online job, taking a side hustle, donating some plasma. But the most important thing that I said in that video is to set yourself up for a higher paying position, set yourself up for a higher paying job, set yourself up for multiple streams of income. So let's talk about the single mom / single woman struggle. Here's my number one tip is that you need to have credentials and degrees behind your name. I know a lot of men out here will tell you, oh, that don't mean nothing for a woman. Let me tell you, with my freelance position that I'm taking, working part-time, I can make some people's full-time income. And that's real talk. The reason why I'm able to do that is because the position is a counseling position. It requires a minimum of a master's to get. I have a Ph.D. Not everybody can get that position. Not everybody can work it. And so therefore, you do put yourself in a position to get jobs. I can do it from the comfort of my own home because that's what telemental health is, and to get paid a decent salary for it. And so when you refuse to get yourself more of these options such as education and certification, you close yourself off to a lot of money, but also that will keep you working lower wage jobs for the money that you would make if you had more certification and education behind your names. Real talk. I was working at the jail as a correctional officer, making way less money than I do now. One of the ways after I had my son, when I was like, okay, I need more money in order to keep, because even at that time, I like to travel. I like to keep myself in luxury when I was just one person. So when I had my son, that was going to continue. So I went back to school because what do we know? Going back to school and being intentional in going back to school, meaning that I actually researched the job outlook. I was already working in the field, so I knew that it was a likelihood that I would get a job in that field once I graduated. And I knew the trajectory of that job market, which I am in the mental health field. I am a counselor. And I also understood that in the future, I wanted to be an entrepreneur with that degree as well. So I say that all to say that how do you set yourself up for a higher paying job is that you start to either possess skills or a degree or something to that nature that can make you marketable to other positions. You do not see a lot of lawyers that don't have a job or who cannot get a job. You don't see a lot of medical doctors who don't have a job or who can't get a job. You don't see a lot of IT people or technological fields who don't have a job or who can't get a job. You don't see a lot of MBAs who don't have a job or can't get a job. So what is my point? If we know that these things are in demand, then we position ourselves in order to get a job that is high paying. And the way that we do that is by getting a degree in a field or certification or something to that effect in a field that will give us a higher paying job. So that way it is a lot easier to go to work for 40 hours a week. And at that time, let's say I was making, when I was a correctional officer with overtime, I think I had to be making $32,000 a year. And then within 5 years from there, when I switched jobs and decided to go back into my master's program, I was making double that. I was making $65,000 a year in 4 short years. And so even as I was getting my master's program during that time, and I wasn't even finished with school yet, I put myself in a position to get a better job in the counseling field because I was getting my master's for counseling, if that makes sense. And then obviously you go up from there. The more degrees that you have, if you get into the field, the more money that you can demand. What is my point in telling you this? Your goal should not even just to be making more money, but your goal should also be to be working less. Obviously, me being a correctional officer was a lot more work than me being a counselor. Me being a correctional officer required for me to show up all the time at work. I had to do that in person. Now I can do counseling through the computer, through telehealth. Do you see how this changes the value of your life in the sense that I was working 12 to 16 hours a day as a correctional officer? And even though that gave me experience to help me later on down the line, I always had a plan to get a better job and to make more money. Still working no, matter of fact, I work less now. I can't even say that I'm working more. But in the 4 years that I was talking about where I was making double, I was still probably working the same amount of hours, but I was still making double. And so you understand that it's a lot easier to keep yourself in luxury if you are making more money. My next tips for multiple streams of income, because not everybody wants to go back to college, and I understand that in this day and age, you don't, not to make more money, but you do need to plan how you need to make more money. So one of the ways that you could do that is multiple streams of income. I talked about that in the video that I'm going to link down below, but I'm also going to talk about it now because if you guys don't know, I think right before the pandemic, I actually stepped into full-time entrepreneurship, and that is when I left my job. And even when I had a job before stepping into full-time entrepreneurship, I was making money from my blogging, my business, YouTube, and then I was making money from my job. I had multiple streams of income. Even now, I do freelance counseling. I still have my blog. I still have YouTube. I still have my products. I still have my books. These are multiple streams of income, because what we understand is that even if we have multiple streams of income, ideally we would have more money. So like going back to using myself as an example, as I said before, I used to work 40 hours a week at a regular behind job. And then when I was trying to build my business, I was also working more hours a week at my business, and I was making multiple streams of income. During the time, I was probably working between 60 and 80 hours a week between my job and my brand. But that was only temporary because what did I just say? You need more money in order to put yourself in luxury. Then what I did, I saved in order to leave my full-time job so that I can put more work into my brand, right? And make more money from that. And then I also looked into other teleworking positions or freelance positions that I do part-time. So now where am I at? I have multiple streams of income. I am able to make from my part-time position or my freelance position as much as I was able to make from my full-time position before the pandemic. And I'm still have my business in which I have 4 or 5 incomes from that. So basically, it's a lot easier to keep yourself in luxury, and it's a lot easier to have more money when you have multiple ways for it to come in. And what that also does is it also frees up more time for yourself, which we'll talk about later. Because one thing that we don't want is to be working so much like a Old Testament Hebrew slave that we don't actually get to enjoy life. Now, there may be some periods where you have to do that. When I was a correctional officer, I did work 12 to 16-hour days in overtime. And then when I moved into being a counselor or a case manager doing community counseling, I did work harder doing that. But the more experience that I got, and the higher I was able to go in my field of study, I was able to take on higher paying jobs and work for less time. Just like now, I do not work 40 hours a week. And so ideally, even if in the beginning you find yourself hustling, just always know that you have it in your mind to make more money and to actually work less. And the way to do that is by having passive income or by having multiple streams of income. By passive income, I mean that my blog is a passive income. I'm a part of an ad network called Mediavine. where you have to have 50,000 people visit your blog a month in order to be a part of them, which basically means that they will pay every time somebody visits my site. That's why you see ads on my site. That is very passive in the sense that I don't have to work for it. So what that means is I have several streams of income that I just make just by existing, and that means that I physically have to work less and I have more time to enjoy my money. The last tip that we're going to get into is about getting more money is saving and investing. I personally use Stash. I'm going to try to remember to leave a link down in the description box if you guys want like a referral link. I think they'll give you some free money or something. Stash is very easy to use. It is very easy to invest. It is also very easy to save. I have it on an automatic rotation to come out of my bank account and I don't have to think about it. And it's very easy for me just putting away $50 a week or $75 a week to save a couple of thousand in a year. That can be vacation money. You can set it for saying, okay, if once I save X amount in 3 months, I know that I could take a vacation, or I know that I can, do X, or I personally use my money for vacation just because that's what it saves towards, but you could use it for your hair. You could use it for luxury. You could use it to hire a housekeeper. Whatever being in luxury means to you in order to make your life more easier, come up with a plan in which you can have the money directly coming from one place to a separate savings account that you don't have to look at it. And before you'll know it, you will save up a decent amount of money that you can go enjoy your life with. Now, let's go to the next tip, which is to depend on yourself. As a single mother myself, I get a lot of questions about women wanting child support. Do I believe that you should have child support? Yes, I do, because I feel that it is both parents' responsibility in order to provide for the child. But with that, I also understand that there are many single moms who either don't get child support or they do not get enough child support. And instead of just accepting that, and I know it's hard for us to accept because I don't really get child support. My son's father owns his own business and he keep lying, y'all, saying he ain't got no job and he only pays $65 a month. And so I get it. But to that is my point, in the sense that this is why you can't depend on other people. When you depend on yourself, then you can control the situation. I know how much money I have coming in. I know that I had to, when I stopped paying attention to my child's father and the child support that he wasn't going to give, it gave me more focus for school and to really depend on myself in order to be where I need to be separate from him. Because everything is about expending your energy. If you are worried on child support that a child's father is not going to give and you're trying to beat and chase him down just to have money for yourself, then you are going to expel energy that you could be using for yourself or be using to put towards something that actually does benefit you. If you get child support, wonderful, good for you. But I will also say that have that you in luxury means putting yourself there as a single mom, because if it comes to your child's father either losing his job, and even if you're getting child support now, the child support goes away or it decreases, then that becomes a problem for you. That's not money that you can depend on for yourself, because that's in somebody else's pocket, no matter whether you get it or not. So also understand that the luxurious lifestyle that you need needs to come from you. And that's not to say that we don't want men to spoil us or take us out on dates, because yes, we do that. But I think that if you have that mindset coming in, then it is very easy for you to become dependent upon a man for money. And that's when you will get into a situation where you feel like these bad advice internet dating gurus. Oh, every time a man take me out on a date, I gotta sleep with him. Or every time a man offer to take me somewhere, I gotta sleep with him, and if I don't sleep with him, he gonna go away and I have to sleep with him, because how else am I gonna get something? And that's because you're dependent on his money instead of your own. I believe in men taking me out on dates and all of that, and fine, but understand that I don't ever feel obligated to sleep with you, to give you anything that I don't want to do, to kiss you or do anything physical with you or be around you when I don't want to, simply because being around you is the only way that I can get a certain lifestyle met, right? That's not what we want. And so that's why I say the way you need to formulate your budget and even your goal. And I have a blog that I'm going to link down below on how to plan your life 1 year from now. And that's how to come up with goals so that you'll be in a different place a year from now, even money wise, is that you learn to depend on yourself and to bring everything within your control as much as you can. If you get outside money, then great. If you don't, then that's still great because you was never dependent on that money anyway. And also it will keep you from trying to chase money and trying to get and really depending on other people's money, which may change depending on if they have it or not, if that makes sense. So the third is get a life that works for you and determining what luxury means for you. So for me personally, luxury has looked differently depending on which part of life cycle that I'm in. So even when I first graduated from college and I did not have my son, if I went on a cruise, then yes, I would have to get a cruise in the middle of the ship somewhere, because at the time I was working a part-time job, but I was working 60 hours a week so I could hit that overtime. I was working it, during college. And so even though I was making time to travel, to get my hair done, to get my nails done, and those type of things, luxury is not the same to me as now. Now luxury looks to me staying in a 4 or a 5-star hotel. That is where I want to stay, point blank, period, because I earned that right to stay there with my own money. I'm sorry, I have. But back in the day, I would stay in maybe like a 3-star hotel, and me and my roommates would be up in there because all of us had to put in the money. But my point is that you can work up to luxury and that you can start now. Let's say you're like, okay, Sophia, I cannot afford first class on a regular basis, and I cannot travel on a regular basis. That's okay. Maybe you can say to yourself, and I have done this in the beginning when I couldn't afford everything or take time off from work. Maybe you can say to yourself, okay, I'm going to plan 2 trips per year here, and then I'm going to go somewhere like the Bahamas is a very, affordable place to travel to on a cruise ship or by plane. And so you can do that. And then you can get an all-inclusive place, which brings down the travel. Or you could get an Airbnb, or you could get a group of friends. And I have done this a whole bunch of times, especially earlier when I was trying to be in luxury, to go in on one trip. Ultimately, whatever it is that works for you, figure out what that is now as far as what you can afford and start doing that. What you will start to understand is if by chance you ain't never been on a plane in your life, and then 3 months from now you decide to go on a vacation or something and you enjoy it, then you will say, oh, I want to travel more, and I also want to have more on my vacation. And that will get your mind accustomed to luxury, and you will start to acclimate that into your lifestyle because you like how it feels, and then you will start to allocate for it. So like for me, I always like traveling, and then I always like traveling in luxury even when I couldn't afford it. So then what that told me is, okay, I need to save up more money in order to stay at the places that I want to stay. For example, when me and my son went to Universal Studios, one of the things that I always wanted to do was stay on a resort hotel. Y'all know that is very expensive. It was a couple of $1,000s for, just for the hotel. But with that came a lot of perks. It came early entry to the park. It was a nice resort. It came with 5-star dining. That was what I worked up to. But if you're asking me if I had that when I was 20, or the first time I took my son to Disney World, which we did stay in a nice hotel, but it was in a timeshare, these are 2 different things. But ultimately, just know that once you start getting your lifestyle, start getting yourself used to luxury in whatever way that you can feel used to it, then that is what you will become accustomed to, and that is how you will start to treat yourself going forward. So start to see what that life looks like for you and start to get it. So even if you say, dang, Sophia, my life in luxury looks like I want to start getting my hair done. In the beginning, when I wanted to start getting my hair done way back when, I would go to the Dominican shop and have them blow out my hair where it costs $20, right? Let's say you don't have that much money. You can go to somewhere or a hair school to get your hair done for more affordable. Then obviously when you make more money, then you can go to a more expensive stylist, or maybe you can start doing your pedicure and your nails at home now because you want to look more luxurious. And then when you make more money, you can go and pay to have it done. My point is that luxury can work no matter what stage that you're in, but you have to start doing it now, because when you start doing it now, that's when you start getting yourself accustomed to luxury, and then that's when you'll start doing more luxurious things for yourself, and it will start to become a need. Once you start spoiling yourself, you're like, okay, I can't go back to struggle, busting, and looking crazy, and I'm always have to struggle. I'm always have to spoil myself, and so you're going to find more ways in order to make time for that. Which brings me to my next point. Make time to spoil yourself. So many single mothers will spoil their children. So many single mothers will just complain about struggling, or so many single mothers will walk around looking like who did it and what for, and they do not make spoiling themselves a priority, and it actually should be a priority. So like, let's say, for example, way back when, and I always talk about that, when I first had my son, I did have to work a lot more just because, like I said, at that time I was starting my business, and then I was also working, my job. And then at that time I was still going to school. But I also had an end goal in mind that, I'm using this money now in order to spoil myself, which I did at the time. I took me and my son, we went a whole bunch of places and we did a lot of things. But now, as I started to progress and I had a plan, because like I said in the earlier tips, you should always have a long-term plan of where you want your life to go. My plan was that I want to work less and I want to have more time to spoil myself. And that's exactly what I do. I do it even at my house. If you guys watch my stories, you see that I have my office set up. This is like my serenity room. I take time to spoil myself in here. I look at the stars. I look out the window. I treat myself in luxury as far as that. And I also work less now, in the sense that I really said to myself, Sophia, how can I have more time to enjoy my life, knowing that I have put in the work, had the education, took time to build my business? And for me, that was like, you know what, I'm going to work about 20 to 25 hours a week doing counseling. And then I'm going to work about 10 hours a week on my business. If that, sometimes it's 5 hours a week at this stage, because I put so much work in early on. And then now I'm working 30 hours a week, sometimes not even that. And the rest of my time I can do whatever it is that I want to do. And I'm still making the money that I used to make while working a job, even, more so, especially when I was working at the jail. So my point is that your life is meant for you to be spoiled. We work in order to get things for ourselves, in order to get things for our family, in order to enrich our lives. We are not here to just work ourselves half to death and not do anything. The spoiling yourself is a priority, because that should be a part of where your money goes, because you are the one making your money, and therefore you should allow yourself to be spoiled. So you need to change your mindset from I'm just working in order to rob Peter to pay Paul, from I'm working in order to spoil myself and give myself the best lifestyle. And once you kind of make that mindset shift, you will start to move and shake in a way that gives yourself the lifestyle that you deserve to spoil yourself, as opposed to giving yourself the lifestyle of I'm just robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm just working this minimum job now because I know that it pays bills. Making time to spoil yourself says, dang, I really would like to have a month, or I would really like to have a lifestyle. And I actually saw this on the news. This is why I'm going with it, in which I could telework and I could just be a nomad. And that's actually one of my dreams one day. I have seen people just go to Airbnbs, nice ones, and they bring their laptop and they telework. That is making time to spoil yourself. And that is using your life in a way that, like, yes, I'm working because I have to make money, but my life is about me and making myself happy. And I'm using my job as a way to do that. Not I'm using my job as the way to just be here all the time, to work myself to death like a freaking slave, like an Old Testament Hebrew slave, and I can't enjoy life. So what does making time to spoil yourself look like? I'm going to give you some examples. For me, that looks like travel. I literally, and I'm going to link it down below, where you could do this on so many levels. I live in the DC metro area. I took a staycation to Baltimore Harbor one time. I chose to stay in a 4-star hotel, just like I said that I do now, right? They upgraded my room to a harbor view, which was a ocean view. And I actually went without my son. And then I literally went to the museum while I was there. And then they had like this tourist bus thing. And then while I was on it, I literally met a guy. We went out on a date. He took me to the harbor. He took me to the Cheesecake Factory. We sat and have a conversation. We looked out on the harbor. I went back to my hotel room. I went to the hotel bar. And that was my weekend. I say that all to say that just like, even that was a staycation where I didn't even have to go on a plane. I literally got in my car and drove 2.5 hours north to Baltimore in order to take a staycation. And even though it was a 4-star hotel, I think the per night was about $300 to $400 a night. I stayed 2 nights. So yeah, it's $800 to $900 for that trip. But also look at what I told you I just did. I went to a free museum and then I met a guy, which he ended up paying for food and he ended up paying for dinner, and I didn't have to really pay for anything. And more than importantly, it's about the experience. And that was something that I literally took out of one weekend that I just did for myself, and my son stayed with my mom. And that's something small that you could do for travel that does not take a lot of money. Most people can save up $1,000 relatively fast that you can take yourself on a nice vacation, or staycation, even if it's not far, but that is called making time to spoil yourself. Another thing that I do to make time to spoil myself is that I got HelloFresh. I will try to leave a link down where y'all can get some free boxes down in the description box, so whoever gets to the link first. But literally speaking, I want nice, easy food that doesn't require me to stay in the kitchen all day, that I want to do, that is easy to make, that tastes good, that just makes my life easier. That is a spoiling myself thing. I do it all the time for dinners. I also get extra stuff for breakfast, for coffee, and that is a way for me, not only for my life to be easier, but for me to spoil myself. Does that make sense? Because it's like, even if you get in a relationship for the future and you get with somebody else, you're only going to accept a man that treats you like you treat yourself. So if I'm giving myself a meal service and I'm taking myself on staycations on the Baltimore Harbor, then what is my expectation going to be for other friends and even other men who come into my life who want to be in a relationship with me? I'm going to expect you to be on my level because this is what I have afforded for myself. And also understanding that when men come to you and they cannot be on your level, you're not going to accept it, because you're not going to want to downgrade what you're used to, and you're not going to want to downgrade to what you were used to giving yourself. So this is also a way to teach yourself to be accustomed to the finer and the better things in life, right? Another thing is keeping up your appearance. Like I said, I have several videos. If you go to my playlist section where it's beauty, I keep up with my beauty. And the reason why I do it is because way back when, and I talk about this in my last video, when I lost my job a few years ago, and that's when I was like, I can't have nobody controlling my money. I had to get a side hustle and all that other stuff, when I really was like, okay, I need to figure something out. One of those things to keep up with my appearance was I couldn't spend money on my hair and my nails anymore, or even my clothes. And so I had to figure out how to do that myself. And I even remember I went to the thrift store, a very nice one, and I have blogs on that, where you could get hundreds of dollars of clothes. Some of them even had the original price tag of like Saks Fifth and all these expensive places for like 10 or 15 bucks if you go to a nice thrift store. So even understanding you being in luxury doesn't even necessarily mean you spending a whole bunch of money, right? You being in luxury is just the appearance of spoiling yourself. And if you can do that as cheaply as possible, then even better. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of money just to keep yourself up in luxury. And that is going to bring me my last and final point, which is go with what you can afford and upgrade in the process. And I talked about this a whole bunch of times. It is much better, in my opinion, for me to go on 3 trips in a year. And let's say I go on a cruise, but I choose the cheapest room in the middle of the boat, like I did with once I graduated from college. That was our celebration trip. And we only was used to working our part-time jobs, but hey, we still went to the Bahamas. We were only in the room not that long. We got the cheapest room, which was like $300 per night for 3 of us for 4 days, which we split that between 3 people. But it's like, still, that was an experience that we gave ourselves. No, it wasn't the best room on the boat during that time, but it was still an experience. And we still got to go with our friends, and we didn't spend most of the time in the actual room anyway. We spent it around on the boat, and whoever has the most expensive room is getting on the same boat as the same people who have the cheapest room. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, don't wait until saying, oh my goodness, I really need to, because I see a lot of women do that. A lot of single moms do that. Oh, I really need to save up blah, 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 blah amount before I can go on vacation. No, you can find, even me and my son, we went to the Mall of America. Literally, it was like Minnesota. We got a round trip ticket for $100 each. on Spirit Airlines, which I'm never going to do. I thought it was a deal, but I'm never going to do that again. But if you want to, and we literally went to the Mall of America, which in the Nickelodeon theme park, which was like $60 for all the tickets for him to ride. And we went to the biggest mall. Literally that whole trip cost less than $1,000 for two of us. So my point is, and that was like for 4 days, and we stayed in like a regular behind hotel. It was like a eating Column Lodge or something. So my point is that you can do something. And I went on that trip actually with another single mother because she also had 3 children, and she was like, oh, I can't spend X, Y, and Z, but you can do something, right? You can do something that you can afford now. And once you start to expose yourself and once you start to regularly put yourself in luxury, that is when you will start to make more time and more funds to get it. And you will start to push yourself harder in order to get the lifestyle you deserve. Because that was me. Yes, even at the jail, I'm going to tell you, I went to bike week. I remember I went to bike week and literally I could never get any time off at my job. And we drove back from bike week, me and my friends. And then the next day I had to go to work to work a 12 to 16 hour shift. And the crazy thing is all my other coworkers who also went to bike week was in there. And I had just seen them the day before at bike week, hours before. And we was all in there at work the next day. But my point is that told me, yes, I like to travel. Yes, I like to do things, but I don't want to be in a situation where I'm going on vacation and I got to turn around and work 12 to 16 hour days. So what did that teach me? I needed to go back to school and start to put myself in a position where it's no longer like that. And that's what I did. Yes, it took a couple of years to get to where I am now. But once you're spoiling yourself in the process, that's an incentive for you to keep going and for you to plan a life that you could really get to what you deserve. And the whole point of all of this is get to what you deserve. And this is not about, oh, you need to go find a man. You need to go beg more men for money and all this other type of stuff. Yes, I want y'all to have fulfilling relationships, but let's be real, y'all. The state of men can be a little concerning in this day and age. And you don't want to limit your life and your luxury based on you finding a man and him being able to contribute to your lifestyle. You want to be able to have that. And I have met plenty of men when I've been on trips, even in the Bahamas, y'all, when we went on that cruise, we literally met some Jamaican men and they took us out clubbing to some Jamaican place. And that was that. We don't have to marry them, but I'm saying even having these experiences will get you used to other things and other people and what you're supposed to have in your life. And that is the way to kind of accustom yourself to luxury and also your children in luxury, because my son is used to luxury and he don't like no struggle. So once my son sees that we not on the struggle bus and this is the life that he deserves, then guess what? That is also the life that he is going to keep himself accustomed to as well. All right, guys. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really do hope that it helped, and I will talk to you guys another day, another time. Bye, y'all.
Not ready for the show to end? It doesn't have to. You can head over to my site where you can read hundreds of articles. And also you can feel free to shop my store where I have all of my products for sale. And last but not least, for even more video content, feel free to visit my YouTube channel where I talk about a wide array of content. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, stay blessed.